The mood in the Capitol building was already tense. It had been a chaotic week filled with rumors, subpoenas, and backroom meetings. But no one expected the hallway outside the House Oversight Committee room to become the stage for the most explosive moment of the day. Karoline Leavitt, former Trump spokesperson and now one of the most vocal defenders of the MAGA movement, was making her way toward the exit. Her blazer was crisp, her hair meticulously styled, and her press aide trailed close behind, whispering last-minute reminders for her scheduled appearance on a conservative news show later that evening. She looked composed, confident, until she saw who was waiting for her by the elevator banks. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett stood tall, arms crossed, a thick manila folder in one hand and an unmistakable look of purpose in her eyes. She wasn't here by accident. As Karoline approached, she slowed slightly. Her expression tensed just for a moment, just long enough for the cameras to catch it. Reporters' heads turned, sensing something was about to happen. The hallway, previously buzzing with scattered conversations, fell into a near silence. "Karoline," Jasmine called, her voice loud enough to cut through the air but calm enough to signal control. "You got a minute?" Leavitt gave a tight smile, still moving. "Not really, I've got a live hit in 10. This won't take long," Crockett replied, stepping forward and flipping open the folder. Photographers leaned in as Crockett held up a blown-up image for everyone to see. The photo showed a private dinner at Mar-a-Lago, with Donald Trump seated next to a known foreign oligarch, someone now under federal investigation for illegal campaign financing. And seated 2 chairs away from Trump, a woman unmistakably resembling Karoline Leavitt. "Is that you?" Jasmine asked simply. Karoline's face froze. Her aide instinctively stepped between her and the folder, but the cameras had already snapped the moment. Flashbulbs went off like fireworks. "What is this? Some kind of stunt?" Leavitt snapped, though her voice wavered just enough to betray her nerves. Crockett didn't flinch. "It's a question. You've been on every network defending Trump, calling this whole investigation a witch hunt. So tell me, Karoline, were you at that dinner when the alleged deal was made?" Reporters surged forward, bombarding Karoline with a wave of shouted questions. "Were you involved in coordinating foreign donations? Did you help arrange this meeting? Why haven't you disclosed this before?" Leavitt looked around, panicked. Her aide was muttering into a phone, likely calling the car around. Karoline tried to regain control. "I have no idea what that photo is or when it was taken," she said, voice rising. "And I'm not going to stand here and be ambushed by someone who makes her career off of lies and Twitter clips." Jasmine smiled slightly, unaffected. "That's funny," she said. "Because the truth doesn't need a script. Just an answer." Leavitt's smile was gone now. Her jaw clenched as the press barrage intensified. "Why won't you deny it clearly? Did Trump ask you to lie to Congress? Are you under investigation?" Karoline looked to her aide, who nodded toward the stairwell. Cameras followed her glance. Without another word, Leavitt pivoted sharply and began walking in the opposite direction, quickly, head down, dodging reporters as they followed. "She's running," one journalist shouted. "Karoline, are you avoiding questions because you're guilty?" Another yelled. Jasmine didn't chase. She simply stood still, her posture cool and triumphant. "Running away won't change the truth," she called after her, loud enough to echo down the hall. The crowd gasped. Some even laughed. Karoline turned a corner and vanished from view. Moments later, the Capitol garage security camera caught her diving into a waiting SUV, her face pale, jaw clenched, as the vehicle sped away from the scene. Reporters lingered outside, hoping she'd return. She didn't. Back inside, Jasmine Crockett handed the folder to a staffer and walked off in the other direction, barely glancing back. She had made her move. Not just a political strike, but a moment captured on live feeds and social media clips that would spread like wildfire. The confrontation was brief, but it was unforgettable. It wasn't just another viral moment, it was the start of a storm, and the eye of it had Karoline Leavitt written all over it. The video of Karoline Leavitt fleeing down the Capitol hallway was on every major news network before the sun had even set. Within hours, the footage had racked up millions of views on social media. Hashtags like #CarolineRuns, #CrockettConfronts, and #TruthSpin dominated trending lists on X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Late-night hosts replayed the clip with commentary, some mocking, others marveling at the directness of Jasmine Crockett's confrontation. And while Leavitt tried to lay low, the firestorm outside her circle grew louder by the hour. Jasmine Crockett, meanwhile, had turned the moment into a rallying cry. She went live on Instagram the following morning, speaking candidly to hundreds of thousands of viewers. "They always say they're ready to defend Trump, ready to take the heat," she said. "But when you hold up proof, when you look them in the eye and ask a direct question, they crumble." Karoline had her chance to answer. She chose to run. The comments section was flooded with support. "Queen energy, this is what accountability looks like," and "more leaders like Jasmine, please." While Crockett rode a wave of grassroots momentum, Leavitt's office scrambled behind the scenes. Advisors attempted to spin the confrontation as a cheap political stunt, releasing a statement to select outlets that claimed Jasmine was desperate for attention and had ambushed Karoline with heavily doctored images. But the pushback didn't land, because the photo had already been verified by multiple independent journalists. CNN confirmed the photo's authenticity and its date. The dinner did happen. And Karoline Leavitt had been in the room. Suddenly, the question wasn't whether she was there. It was why she hadn't disclosed it before. Political watchdog groups jumped in, calling for an ethics investigation. A prominent one even filed a formal complaint to the House Ethics Committee, citing the possibility that Leavitt withheld her involvement in sensitive political dealings that may have violated the Foreign Agents Registration Act. That opened a door no one on the right was prepared for. As the pressure mounted, cracks started forming within Karoline's circle. Longtime supporters began distancing themselves. Some GOP strategists, speaking anonymously to reporters, admitted they were deeply concerned about the optics and called the moment a media disaster. Her upcoming appearances on two major conservative podcasts were quietly canceled. One host reportedly said off camera, "She needs to get her story straight before she sits in my chair." Leavitt, under growing pressure, eventually re-emerged, this time in a tightly controlled, pre-recorded video. Wearing neutral colors and seated before a bland background, she read from a teleprompter, attempting to reframe the incident. "I was present at the dinner in question," she admitted. "But I had no involvement in any wrongdoing. Congresswoman Crockett's accusations are a distraction from real issues affecting Americans. I will not be intimidated." But the performance fell flat. The clip, lacking the fire and confidence she was once known for, only added to the perception that Karoline was cornered. In contrast, Jasmine Crockett was gaining momentum. She went on MSNBC, then The Readout, and finally made a surprise appearance on The View, where she received a standing ovation. "I didn't confront her for a soundbite," Crockett told the hosts. "I confronted her because she owes the American people an explanation." You don't get to play power politics and then run when accountability knocks on your door. It wasn't just Democrats cheering her on. Even independents and moderate Republicans praised her guts. Meanwhile, the House Oversight Committee began discussing the possibility of calling Leavitt to testify. Rumors swirled that subpoenas were being prepared. If she refused, she could be held in contempt. The pressure cooker was on full blast. Privately, Karoline's team discussed the nuclear option, stepping away from public life, at least temporarily. Ride out the storm, one aide suggested. But others warned that disappearing now would confirm every suspicion. Crockett, on the other hand, wasn't backing down. She continued building her case, organizing documents, coordinating with investigative journalists, and fueling a national conversation about transparency, accountability, and the influence of money and foreign entities in U.S. politics. What had started as a 60-second hallway confrontation had ballooned into a political earthquake. The once confident Leavitt had become a symbol, not of power, but of panic under pressure. And Jasmine Crockett, she had proven one truth loud and clear: when you stand in the path of justice armed with facts and courage, even the most rehearsed political operatives can be shaken to their core. The only question left now wasn't whether Karoline Leavitt would recover, it was whether she'd survive politically at all.